second from Member Lynn. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is announcements of actions taken in closed session. We have no announcements to make. We also want to announce this tonight's meeting being digitally recorded. And with that, we're going to go on to the pledge, which will be led by Member Lynn tonight.
Please stand. Place your hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so with that, we are on to item number 10, special recognition. And tonight we're pleased to invite a student from Temple City High School who was involved with the Tournament Roses. And I'm going to let Dr. Fricker go ahead and introduce.
Okay, so I want to bring up to the podium, and we're going to take a picture, so hang on one second. I want to introduce Miss Tcusd.
That was really good.
Did I get that? Who was recently nominated to the Tournament of Roses, and you were the top 25, right? To go through, even to be recognized and in that list of young ladies is quite an honor in itself. And so we are all very, very proud of you on behalf of Temple City Unified School District for your accomplishment. And we have a couple things for you, but I want you to go ahead and say a few words.
Okay. Thank you so much for the recognition. I really appreciate it. For me, it was an experience where I got to really advocate for what I was passionate about. So I really talked about my environmental passions as well as my special needs awareness passions. And I used it as a platform to really talk about those, advocate for those. So I didn't really get that nervous wreck kind of feeling. I was more of like, okay, let me use this as like a place to talk about important issues, and it was really fun. I got to meet a lot of girls from other schools, and they were really nice, and it was really cool being able to be on the top 25. So yeah.
Small recognition for you.
So you are our queen.
Yeah.
Certificate of recognition. It says on this 9th day of October 2019 in Temple City, California, certificate of recognition presented to Tcusd for representing Temple City Unified School District in the top 25 Tournament Roses course. So thank you.
You're dead center.
Okay. Ken, once you get in between. There.
The next item on our agenda is public comments on agendized and non-agendized items. I have 3 requests tonight, and I'm just going to start in the order we received them. The first is from John Lee, Aaron Wang, and Ping Wang, who want to speak about the Tcusd I believe it's tennis club and team. You guys like to come forward?
Speaking to the mic.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Lee, and I am currently a Temple City High School senior, the secretary of the Tcusd Tennis Club, and a member of the Tcusd tennis team. Today, I wanted to address the topic of the high school's tennis courts, which have remained locked to the general public and students alike for an extended period of time. With the courts being locked, the only other open courts within the city are those found at Live Oak Park, which only have 3 courts with lights and are often reserved by coaches. For context, a lot of students simply don't have the time to practice until the sun starts to set due to schoolwork, extracurricular activities, etc. So as a result, a lot of those students are forced to either stop practicing tennis or to look for courts in other cities, where students from those cities, such as Arcadia, usually have priority, leaving us with no place to actually practice. So on that note, I would like to mention that all the nearby schools in the area leave their courts open to the public, including Arcadia High and every other school in our league. So I do understand that keeping the courts up to standard isn't cheap, such as the fact that we need to replace the nets every once in a while. So if cost is an issue, the tennis community at the high school is more than willing to fundraise to offset those costs. So all in all, the questions I wanted to bring up today are generally why were the courts locked, and what can the TCHS tennis community do to fix that, and when can we expect the courts to be opened up again? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Aaron and I'm a sophomore at TCHS. I speak on behalf of the tennis players of Temple City High School. Without the courts open, many tennis players in Temple City High School cannot practice and improve their skills. Right now we have to practice on other courts such as Arcadia High School and Lyman Park. However, there are more people playing tennis, which means more people are using the courts at other parks and schools. As a result, we don't have any courts to practice on. Several months ago, when the courts were open, most of the players on the courts were from Temple City High School. It does not matter who owns the courts or district, who owns the courts, for example, the district or the city. I feel that the students of Temple City High School and residents of Temple City should be able to practice on the courts. With the courts closed, it is practically useless. The courts should be public, not private. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for your time, and I'm the parents of the high school player. I'm really happy the students, they stand up to talk about their concerns. And also, as a parents, we want to support their stand up. And the reason I want to stand up to say something about here, because the tennis court in high school, one of its public facilities, second one is open to public for a long time. But that, about 2 years ago, they locked the light, just shut down the light at night, and then gradually locked the whole facility. And as parents, we keep communication with the students, with the coach, with faculty in the high school, with the board member. So we keep either go through the phone or email, everything. The message always differs. And we don't know which direction we go, but finally we got some clear message, because there's no agreement between the education board member and also city, because that is some agreement happened before. And that agreement is no longer valid 2 years ago. So I know that there is some reason, the board, the court is not available for the public, especially for the high school tennis player. But you know, as students, they only have 4 years in high school, and there are the player representing high school to play, but the court is locked because for any reason. So, as a board member, I really strong you to put this on top of priority and discuss how to make that available to at least for the high school player. They can play on the after school and all on weekend because they want to practice, they want to have a skill to represent the high school, to play for Temple City. And also, we are very embarrassed when we play in Arcadia High School because there are no court available here. They ask me why you don't play in the high school court. And this is top priority for the Arcadia students. So we are very embarrassed because that's the situation happening here. And also, you know, I know an agreement with the city maybe take a long, but I will strongly recommend have some short solution first, make a core available for the high school player, and if need any parents' help or any workout that agreement, we'd like to work with you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Comment about this issue. I know it came to our attention through email about a week or so ago, and the superintendent's looking into it, so hopefully we'll have something to share with you in the not too distant future. Moving on to our next request, this is from Christy Ferntile, who would like to speak about agenda item number 18.
Have my beautiful assistant. All right. Good evening, board. I'm Christy Ferntile. I am a retired teacher from the Tcusd Unified School District, and I got to tell you, I didn't get a chance. Hey, sweetheart. I didn't get a chance to tell you at the end of last year, and I'm going to get teary. I had a wonderful career here, right? And I got to tell you, I'm happy to be retired. I mean, that's really fun. I'm doing a lot of good stuff, but I never got a chance to thank you guys for making such a fantastic place for me to work for 35 years. Who'd have thought 36 years ago when I answered a want ad, which our kids don't even know what those are anymore. I answered a want ad for an Oak Avenue special ed aide. I'd end up here for the next 35 years, and it's been a ride, and it's been great, so thank you. Now, that's not why I'm here today. I'm here representing the Schools Foundation, and number 18, you're going to be talking about that, so I wanted to present the Schools Foundation's proposal on this. We've been donating to the performing arts, Christmas concert, dance concert, musical, to help defray the costs of the San Gabriel Civic for many years now. You know that it's an expensive venue, but it is a venue. We don't have a venue here. We've been promised a few times that we're going to be having an auditorium someday. It hasn't come to pass. Not a big deal. We have the backup of the Civic. But that's why we're here tonight. We'd like to propose the foundation and the district split the costs of the cost to rent the San Gabriel Mission Playhouse. Now, in your packet that you have a breakdown that has the exact same numbers as mine. I will have my lovely assistant pass these out. This gives it even a little bit more breakdown because it tells what each of those concerts cost. The Christmas concert, the dance concert, and the musical. All right. So if you look at those costs, you'll notice that most of those range between $45,000 and $50,000 a year. And those costs are just for the rental of the San Gabriel Civic. It is not for sound or costumes or anything like that. It's just for the Civic. But what this partnership between the foundation and the district really does is it makes it more equitable amongst all the groups in Temple City. Every one of our athletic groups has a field. And it's a field that's maintained by the district. We are not that fortunate. We do not have an auditorium. We do not have a place to put on these performances. I know that athletes fundraise for uniforms and they fundraise for nets and balls and things like that. We'll be still doing the same thing. We'll be fundraising for costumes and sound and everything like that. But we feel like since the district takes care of their venue, they should also make that equitable to the performing arts and pay for our venue. It's also nice to remember that these costs are costs that are third grade through 12th. They're district-wide costs. They're not just a high school cost. They're just not a 9-12 like our athletic teams are. Here's the math as I see it, because you can't go too far without me doing math. I know it doesn't go out yet. Total cost for what we're looking at is approximately average of about 50 grand. Okay? If we split that, that's 25 for you, 25 for our supporting foundation here. That you have a $62 million budget, and that is 0.04% of your budget. In layman's terms, that is 1/25th of 1% of the budget. You have your 3% that's mandated, you have your 2% that's mandated, you have unrestricted reserves above that, unallocated reserves above that, so we think the 25,000 is a very doable number. My guess is also that you probably spend more than 25,000 just maintaining your athletic fields, and that's just at the high school. So we think it's a fair and equitable thing to take care of our costs also. We really do hope that you consider this. I know that our kids will be grateful, right? I know that our parents will be grateful. I know that your performing arts teachers will be grateful. And I want you just to consider one last thing. This March, we'll be doing our 56th annual musical. 56th. And every single one of them, but one, has been held at that San Gabriel Mission Playhouse. Every one but one. So we'd love to keep that tradition. We'd like to make it easier on our teachers. You don't ask anybody else to pay for their classroom. So that is our classroom, not ours. I'm not a performing arts teacher, I'm just a supporter. So I would ask you to be fair, I ask you to be equitable, and I hope that you'll consider this offer, because I think the foundation is really, really helping out here. To pay half of those rent costs, that's a great opportunity. And I hope we take advantage of that. Right? Right. Thanks, ladies.
Great, thank you. Daniel Lee, who was with the U.S. Census Bureau, and wants to tell us about the upcoming census.
Thank you, Mr. President, Superintendent, members of the school board. Good evening. My name is Daniel. I am a partnership specialist at the U.S. Census Bureau. I also happen to be a resident of Temple City since last year. Great place to live. I'm here. And I'm here today to seek your assistance with the upcoming 2020 census. It is imperative that we get an accurate count of everyone living in the state of California, because there are $675 billion of federal money at stake per year for the next 10 years. I repeat that, that's $675 billion each year that's being distributed on the federal level. These are funds that will be distributed to each state according to the population numbers. And we only have one chance to get this right every 10 years. This is money that will go to fund our children's schools, our school supplies, after-school programs, free lunch programs, and other services that our schools so desperately depend on. This is also funding that will provide for social services, such as WIC checks, Medi-Cal, Medicare, just to name a few. This money will even go to repairing our roads. It will go to providing our libraries and also our senior centers. And those are just some of the very few examples I can give you. The census data is also very critical in statistical purposes. For instance, since we're at a school board meeting, you can use that statistical data to determine where a new school will be built, depending on the fluctuations of populations. The census is also important in that it will determine the number of congressional seats, House seats, of California. As you know, our population has been growing tremendously, and since our population has grown, an accurate count could increase those numbers of congressional House seats, and that will give us more power in California to make the laws in Washington, D.C. that direct our nation. In essence, the more accurate the population count through the census, the more money and the more power California receives. The census will also determine redistricting of our neighborhoods, and we all know what that means, right? That means that will affect our children in which schools they'll be sent to. So it's very, very important. And that brings me to my next point. During the last census in 2010, we had difficulty in particular in reaching out to the immigrant communities. Language barriers, distrust of the government, and lack of outreach resulted in a lower census count. The most undercounted group actually happened to be those that were 5 years of age and under. And we can't let that happen again in 2020. As a trusted voice of the community, I am asking you, Temple City School Board, and the general public, those who are here present today, to please partner with me and the US Census to help us reach as many people in the community as possible. As you know, the Temple City's demographics have changed immensely over the recent years. So it doesn't matter whether you're a US citizen, whether you're a non-citizen, whether you're an exchange student without legal status, or even if you are homeless. Everyone needs to be counted. Our census questionnaire this year will be available in 12 different languages, and it'll be the easiest census you can take, ever. It'll be available online, it'll be available by the phone, or by traditional paper format. And there will only be 9 questions this time, unlike, I think, last time it was like 40 or something ridiculous. Nobody wanted to do it. So. Lastly, the census has valuable information and a program called Statistics in School. It's called the SIS program, and I'm sure you've probably received it in the mail. It's a program that is being developed and has been developed by the Census Bureau that can be infused into our children's lessons and classrooms. And it can cover practically any type of subject, even a subject such as history. As we know, data is all around us, and it's surrounding us each and every day, and we know that as we move more towards into the future, that data will have a lot more importance and power in our jobs and in our futures. For that, I can provide you more details after the meeting. And my final point is that the census is hiring. We have very flexible pay, very flexible hours, very, very good pay actually. So if you're a student, or I should say if you're a college student, if you are retired, it's a great place to work. The only condition is you have to be 18 years and over, of course. But that is one condition. There was also a precondition that you had to be a US citizen, but California, thankfully, because we speak so many languages here, we are providing a waiver to that so that those who speak particular languages that we are targeting, they will be put in the next pool of candidates.
Daniel, I'm going to ask you to wrap.
Yes. Oh.
No, can you finish up, please?
Oh, yes, yes. This is my last word. Thank you. So yes, that was it. You basically hit my conclusion. I'll leave you with my information, and I'd love to speak with you after the meeting. Thank you for listening, and let's make sure the 2020 census count can be the best it can be. Thank you for your service in improving our lives and the lives of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is district updates, but before we get to that, I want to do something kind of unusual and ask to approve item number 29 on our consent agenda, which involves the personnel order for certificated personnel. And so we'll do the rest of the agenda after this, but I want to pull this one item up front and approve it now. So may I have a motion and a second to approve item number 29?
I'll make the motion.
Second. We have a motion from member Georgina and a second from member Lim. Are there any comments or questions? No? I will go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0, and with that, on behalf of the entire board, I'd like to offer our congratulations to Christopher Holmes, who will be the new principal of
Say a few words to the Longdon staff. You know, they hung in with me for 2 rounds for the principalship, and great discussion, great feedback. They were in it to pick the best person, and we want to thank you for taking the job, and it's an honor for us to work with you. I think the best thing that we heard is that Chris is committed to learning from when they're little, and he knows the knowledge of high school, so you can have the full span of that. And I have been at Longdon for a few weeks, and it's an amazing staff, and the students are wonderful, and I can't tell you what a better home you could have landed in. On behalf of Longden,
Yes.
and we didn't know what size you were, so you have some to choose from.
Either of them are medium.
Jerry, can we take one with the staff up there? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, can you guys come up?
I want to jump in. I just want to thank Monica Lukesh for all of her leadership through this time, going to Longden in the summer, and making sure that the whole school did not skip a beat. And I just want to thank all of the Longden staff who were a part of the interview panels both times. Thank you so much.
Yes. I didn't either.
You're fine. There's something. There you go. So just facing out. You got it.
All right, here we go. Great.
Chris, wait, we want to go on to the board too. And then you stay somewhere in the office.
No. Yeah, that's there. Just, there we go. Smile, kids. All right, good, thank you.
Really quick. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're saying something. Yeah.
I just want to say a very quick thank you to the members of the school board, board president, Matt Smith, Dr. Kimberly Fricker, and the families of Longden, and the teachers at Longden, and the staff members. In the interview process, I had the opportunity to meet with the staff and see how committed and passionate they are. Their reputation precedes them. Longden is an amazing place. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to go there and be a part of the team. As a longtime high school teacher and now administrator, I get to see the kids just before they head off to college. And now, as I said in my interviews both, this is my opportunity to make that impact on young lives that's so very, very important in every child's life in our community. And the children of Temple City deserve only the very best, and I know that's what they get at Longden, and that's the standard that I want to live up to as being the principal at Longden Elementary. So thank you so much.
Okay, moving back to agenda item number 12 is the district updates, and we'll start first with business services and Mary Ann Sorrell.
Good evening. Today was the first budget committee meeting. We reviewed Fund 1, we focused there, reviewing the detail of revenue and expense, where the revenue comes from and where the expenses are going. We also discussed the considerations that we have when we're building the budget, the dashboard, and the overall state budget process. At the end of the meeting, the committee gave me some areas of interest for our next meeting, and we'll schedule that shortly. Today, Dr. Fricker, Jason Rose, and I met with a parent at La Rosa who was concerned about air quality during construction. We had a study done, excuse me, September 12th by ATEC Consulting. They're the firm that we've used for all of the air testing during the bond modernization, and reviewed the results. In general, the air quality indoors is better than that of the outside. So I think the parent was very comfortable at the end of the meeting. I'll post that and the other air quality tests we've done at other campuses on the website shortly. The last item is the board contracted with a company named Nicole Miller Associates back in 2018 to conduct a security and vulnerability assessment for all district sites and facilities. And this assessment included a physical assessment of each facility, a review of operational procedures, and interviews with personnel and stakeholders. The study conducted to identify and address gaps or deficiencies across the district, and the threat considered during the assessment included theft and vandalism, access points, obstruction to visibility, student and staff safety, threat of workplace violence, bomb threats and active shooter, natural disasters, and preparedness and response action plans. They also included access control, alarms, and surveillance and lighting.
Great, thank you, Mary Ann. Okay, moving on now to educational services, Dr. Joshua Porter. Josh, what do you have for us?
First of all, I just want to give a couple updates on some things I got to see this week that I thought were pretty amazing. One thing that we're looking forward to seeing on Friday. This Friday, I wish London was still here. We've been talking a lot about PBIS and some of those cultural shifts, and they're hosting their first all-student assembly. They're holding 3 of them this Friday afternoon. Ms. Tcusd has been an integral part of coordinating their efforts there, and she feels and has expressed a lot of support from the staff and students about the shift. Specifically, their kickoff assembly is going to begin about 9 in the morning, and their entire focus is on just teaching positive behaviors rather than kind of back in the I gotcha model. It's kind of neat to hear their big focus, the long-term focus, be kind, be safe, be responsible. I think it's right in line with a lot of our district objectives. Earlier today, I also had the pleasure with Jerry, I appreciate being there, attending Emperor's 4th grade assembly. I really want to give a mention to that because I was just impressed by the inclusive and creative environment that I observed this morning. It was a brief song and performance by the 4th grade class. I felt like that it was a clear indicator of our children's talent and love of each other, not just of their, kind of go about their daily lives. I also want to take a quick moment just to say thanks to the 4th grade team, Lacey Scanlon, Shelby Creep, Michelle Mailer, and Ashley Dinkish. It's a clear indicator that our staff have the same passion and talent as our students as well. So on this more business, October 9th, 2019 today, our California Assessment Student Performance and Progress. It's commonly referred to as our CASP assessment that we give towards sciences in January, English and mathematics in the springtime. Those results were released for public observation earlier today. They were at this time only English, language arts, and mathematics summative assessments in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 are available. The California Department of Education has indicated they will release the results from our California Science Test sometime after January in 2020. Our department is currently working with preparing a summary of data for a future board meeting. And lastly, our first district language advisory committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 10th, tomorrow night. In an effort to increase parent attendance and participation, we've restructured our meetings to be in the evening, right before our community liaison parent nights. We'll go over roles and responsibilities that will be like our English language, district English language advisory committee procedures, do some training, and provide important information regarding our testing for English limits. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Josh. And then last but not least, personnel services, Dr. Monica McAvoy.
Well, based on the great news tonight, we have an important shoes to fill at the high school. So the AP slot will start running tomorrow and run for about a week, and then we'll take a look at candidates there, and we will work with the school site to form a panel. Again, thank you to the Longdon staff for their leadership and endurance in the process. Just a reminder, our first parent and staff and student LCAT meeting, which is our local control accountability plan to start getting parent, staff, and student input, is set for October 17th from 3:30 to 4:30 in the boardroom. We, as a district, hosted, and we haven't hosted it for a while, but we hosted the San Gabriel Valley Human Resources. All the human resource departments from every school district in the area came on Friday to discuss legal issues that are coming up. So it was great to host that and to welcome them to Temple City. And just as a quick reminder, mandated reporting for all staff is due at the end of October, and we're almost there. We're almost have everyone done. So please, if anyone needs help logging on, just let me know. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Monica. Okay, with that, we are moving on to bargaining unit comments. I'll start first with TCEA, and I don't see Ellen here, but I thought Kyle would like to. Okay, then CSEA 105, I don't see Robin, and then CSEA 823. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to student board member comments. Samuel Al, Samuel, what do you have?
So good evening, everyone. Just want to say congratulations to I for the Tournament of Roses. A really good job there. So just a few updates for today. Last Saturday, the band had their preview night where they showcased their field show. Today, ASB went to the homecoming princesses court in their houses and surprised them with a breakfast at school. So that was really nice. For future events, there's a football game this Friday against Monrovia, and the Tcusd will be next Wednesday, and ASB's movie night will be next Friday on the 18th. That's all for today. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sam. So now we will move on to board member comments, and tonight we're going to start with member Georgina Donna, please.
Thank you. On September 28th, I attended the special governance meeting along with the rest of the board and the cabinet. I attended the Kiwanis Club Ice Cream Social that was here on October 3rd, I believe, and I want to thank the Kiwanis Club. That was a very nice event, and I've never been to that before. And also I want to welcome all the new staff to the district. I attended the Longden Relay Recess, and I want to thank the staff there for allowing Relay for Life to conduct that event. And I believe the children raised over $2,400 for Temple City Relay for Life, so that was really great. I also attended the La Rosa Relay Recess, and that was really fun too with all the little tiny kids. They get out there, they can't walk. They have to run, but then they poop out real quick, so it was fun. And I wanted to remind everybody that Temple City Relay for Life is this Saturday at Temple City Park. It'll be from 9 until 9, and it's free. Come on by and check out what's going on there. And I will mention too, I am selling raffle tickets for a bicycle that Temple City Bike Shop is donating. If anybody's interested, all the money goes to Relay for Life. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Donna. And I'm going to go ahead and go next. I'd like to offer my personal congratulations to I as well. Job well done. Very pleased to see the recognition. I also attended the special governance training session we had on September 28th and spent the time here. It was well worth it, so thank you for that. And I was involved with the Kiwanis ice cream social that we held here in this room for our new teachers. I think everyone seemed to enjoy that. Had a chance to attend two meal events on Saturday. The first was the Temple City Camellia Festival kickoff. The director for that is Dawn Tarrant, and incidentally, she's also the coordinator for the Relay for Life Survivors Dinner, which was also Saturday night, and she did that as well. And then Dawn mentioned the Relay for Life coming up on Saturday. So the last thing I'll mention is the thank you for the two individuals, this is on behalf of the entire board, the two organizations actually who donated $2,066.80 to the school district that are in tonight's agenda. So with that, we'll move on to Member Nolenberg, Ken with Catholics.
Just a couple quick ones. One of them is on next Monday, the 14th, is Columbus Day, and hopefully everybody will look at Columbus Day as not a day of rest per se, a day off per se, but a holiday celebrating Columbus for discovering America. Also, I attended the meeting that we had here at the district office on Saturday that kind of summarized our position with a lot of the items that we've discussed previously. And I attended the ice cream social. I'd like to thank the Kiwanis Club for putting that on for us, for the new teachers and for the administrators that are new. And I also like to thank the selection finally of Longden principal, and hopefully he stays more than a year. That's my hope. He stays 2 or 3 years. That's it.
Great, thank you, Ken. And with that, we'll move along to Member Espinoza. Melissa, what do you have for us?
So I did attend the special board meeting, lots of good information about goals and mission and next steps. Sorry, there's feedback. So that was really time well spent. I would also say that I attended my first grad night meeting ever. I've never attended a grad night meeting, so Great group of people, very dedicated parents, and wanting to give, the students a safe and fun and memorable grad night, and, hoping to keep the tradition alive. So I would encourage people who have students at the high school, or maybe even not, and want to get involved in knowing what grad night is all about, to participate, to go to the meetings. I think are they every, monthly on Tuesdays? And they have some work meetings coming up, so I would just encourage people. I myself will make an effort to attend these meetings as well and help with grad night as much as I can. I attended the Chipotle fundraiser that was held for the Temple City Schools Performing Arts program, and band preview night. What a great event. I mean, and the backdrop was beautiful that night. It was a gorgeous night, right? I took pictures and I was like, wow, look at this. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And, to Mr. Ferntile, I know this is his last year. Appreciate all his efforts and what a great job he does with the band every year. That he will be sorely missed next year. So, and then just excited for Saturday. It's Relay for Life, so hope to see people there. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Melissa. And then, last but not least, Dr. Michael Wynn. Mike, what do you have?
Thank you, Board President Smith. I want to say happy Yom Kippur. Also, congratulations to Ms. Kusayanagi as the nice student receiving special recognition from the school board. I also attended the special board meeting on Saturday, September 28th, and the Camellia Festival kickoff luncheon on Saturday, October 5th. And finally, congratulations to Chris Holmes as long-distance principal.
Great, thank you, Mike. And with that, we will move on to the superintendent's comments. Dr. Kimberly Fricker,
Thank you so much. In recent, last week, we actually celebrated the National Custodians Day. So we drove around the school district and met all of our lead custodians and gave them a nice little treat. We thought if we could feed them, that's the least that we could do. So I hope that they appreciated that, and I know that we are very, very thankful for all of them and all of the work that they do to keep our campuses park-like and pristine. This week was Administrators Week, so we did have a leadership meeting with our staff, and so we honored them as well with a sweet treat of their own. And it was in alignment with the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so we wanted to make sure that we celebrate them. And I will see you on the Relay for Life this Saturday. In addition, we've met with a couple stakeholders across the district, that being our secretaries, and made sure that if there are systems or organizational tools that we can look at to help them perform the jobs that they do and make it easier, more efficient, more effective. So we had a great meeting with them earlier this week, and we look forward to providing those solutions and then making some proposals of our own to the Board of Education in the near future. But we wanted to it's very important to get all of the stakeholder input when we make those decisions. So, in addition, I want to just say, just an announcement, the Great Shakeout is coming. It's held in October, it's October 17th. And so all of our schools will be participating in the Great Shakeout. So we will look forward to that. And then finally, last but not least for me, we did have a joint meeting at the SELPA with the superintendents across 14 districts and the chief business officials. And so later on this month, we will be repackaging that presentation and bringing it to the board for consideration. So with that, that's all.
Great, thank you, Kim. Okay, moving on to item 17, written communications. Does anybody have any written communications? No? Okay, then we'll move on to the discussion information portion of our agenda. The first item, item 18. Christy, in essence, already did the presentation practically, but just talked about the San Diego Mission Playhouse.
Well, thank you, Ms. Ferntile. I don't think that I have anything else to say about the Mission Playhouse, but I did want to kind of recapture, maybe not repackage, but recapture some of the things that you had previously mentioned and so adequately said. So in attending the foundation meetings, there was a request that came from our Tcusd Schools Foundation with regard to part of the funding for the Mission Playhouse. And the outlined expenses, which I think that you had all had gotten passed out, I just summarized here up on the sheet. These expenses would be for the holiday the holiday celebration, the dance, and the musical, that's all held at the Mission Playhouse. And you're right, the average cost for renting the facility is around $50,000. So if you can go over. So the foundation's request or proposal to us was really if we could annually contribute half of the amount of funds that would be needed to secure the Playhouse as a location to hold those performances. So our portion would roughly be about $25,000. And then I wanted to go into just how we go through just a cycle of our district budgeting, and just to kind of round up thought in terms of what that looks like when we get requests like this, and try to help sort and make sure that we have parity among those individuals, groups, or organizations that would be requesting funds from us. So just briefly, we try to start off with a needs assessment, and that really starts after the fiscal year turns over, and that's July 1 on, determining what are the needs across the district and how do we incorporate those needs or those requests into our budgeting process. We usually start off with proposals from various organizations. It could be at the school site or it could lead up to the district for consideration. Then we go into priority setting and then finally budget approval. If you flip to the next one. Okay, so if you get the general sense of when we normally would do such activities, if we start in the lower left-hand corner, from July to September, that's really when we normally conduct that needs assessment. And we make sure that we attend to the needs that exist across all of our school sites and across all of our district departments. From that point on, October through December, we usually move into that proposal process, gathering those proposals if we, heard them earlier or if they would be presented. This is the normal time when, for example, the high school is making like course requests or for additional classes that they would like to add at the high school program. That's a good time for us to do that because it's ahead of any of that budget setting, but it also gives us enough time to plan and prepare. That would lead us into the priority setting, and that would be in addition, in alignment, with our board goals and our LCAP goals, just to make sure that we are making sure that the majority of the proposals that we are able to grant would be in alignment with those two goals that are already existing. And then once we solidify that, that normally goes into the budget approval process, which you all approve in June. So with the request from the foundation, we currently don't have an agreement with the San Gabriel mission, for a contract of sort. So we would have to have further conversation with the foundation in terms of what that would look like or what that partnership would look like, what they had in mind with that regard. All we have at this point in time, or all that was presented to the district office, was a request for half of the amount of the funds that would be needed to secure the San Gabriel Playhouse. So that's all the information. I know that Member Espinoza, you asked for a brief presentation on that request, and so I hope I fulfilled that request for you.
I'm a little confused. So are we saying that, because I think we broke down the costs, we got a presentation that involved breaking down the costs. So I'm trying to understand, what is it that we don't have to consider the request? Are we saying we don't have information that we need in order to consider the request? Are we saying we don't have funding to do this request? I'm not clear.
The only information that we don't, in order to allocate funds to something, you would have to have a mechanism with which to allocate those funds. So at the current time, we, the district office, we don't have any contract with the San Gabriel mission. So we don't have the mechanism to apportion funds to the San Gabriel mission.
Does someone within this district have some type of we have to have something in order to be able to use it? I'm not sure.
We have contracts through the high school.
Through the high school.
And each of the instructors for the different shows have a contract with the Playhouse.
So what would be required to funnel those contracts that are currently being held at the high school level to the district level? Is that something that's possible? Because
And
there are
to garner a contract, yes, that's possible. We currently don't have one. It doesn't mean that that's a no-go or not certain. This is just a discussion information item. So it's not a discussion action. You wouldn't be taking action on tonight's information. If we would, if you would give us guidance in whatever direction the board wants us to go, then we can go and get those mechanisms and bring that back.
And then I guess the other thing that I was curious about, because if I'm not mistaken, and please, maybe Marianne, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in prior years, did the district not give money for this mission Playhouse? Because I believe there were monies that were provided at the district level for this in the past.
For the Playhouse specifically for that rent, that has not been done in the past several years. There is money given in the way of stipends to support the musical and other things like that.
And how much are we talking? Do you know?
I can bring that back for you at the next meeting. I didn't prepare that for tonight.
So as I'm hearing, it sounds like if there are contracts that are being held at the school site level, those need to be presented to the district level for consideration and then come to the board for further consideration. Is that what it is?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Marianne, but the contracts that are held between the organization and the San Gabriel Mission are not through Temple City High School or the district office. The high school cannot enter into contract, only the district can. So only we would be able to authorize contract, and that would be for anything. So if there is a booster club, a PTA, a foundation, they can obviously enter into contract for on behalf of their own organization with another organization. However, we don't have a contract currently with the San Gabriel Mission. The district office does not.
All right, I'm confused. Can we get some clarification from people that are here to talk about this? Like, my kid has some information.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Let me just to clarify a little bit of the way the cycle works. So right now, we'd be in the process of figuring out the holiday concert. And so that would be the directors figuring out our schedule. We send kind of like our request to the city of San Gabriel, who then kind of processes and generates that contract, at which point we would get that back from them, then send that to Marianne's office for approval, and then after that approval, in the past, that would be sent back to Temple City High School ASB, where we would then be issuing a check to the city of San Gabriel for the venue. And that happens usually, so right about now is when we'd be doing our proposals to the city. They get back to us usually by, I'd probably say by November 1st. Then we process that between that and December 1st. We have our show in December, and then usually we get a bill from them in January, at which we would pay that bill.
So these are contracts not from a booster club or something?
No.
It is with the high school, which is part of
It's
the
with the district and the city of San Gabriel.
Okay, so there are contracts.
So, but yeah,
they're
we
just not.
don't have this year's contracts generated at this time.
I see. They come
'Cause those-
more in line with the timing of the event.
Well, yeah, because as you saw from some of those, the amounts were different every year, and that's because the shows were different. So the needs were different, and so that's that's why we don't have that this time.
More rehearsal time and.
I hear
Does that
So I have a follow-up question real quick. You mentioned ASB will cut the check. So is the current expense coming out of not just the school's foundation, but also ASB?
No, the previous expenses in previous years have not necessarily come from the school's foundation. It's come from the individual show budget. So in the case of the holiday concert, we have a budget for that within the high school ASB, at which then all of our income from ticket revenue and things like that come into the ASB account, and then the expenditures, the auditorium being one of them, any other type of equipment rentals or things like that, then goes out of the ASB account.
Those accounts are signatured by the person who's the producer. So for example, Matt would be the Christmas concert. Jenny would be the dance concert. I happen to have been the musical because I was the business manager. So each one is a separate account.
Within the high school ASB.
I have another question. I know Ken, your hand was up. Now, are these programs A through G programs and WASC accredited?
The elective, the art programs?
The courses that kids take in this program?
Yes, I believe they are.
So it's a facilities need that I'm hearing. I know I heard parity earlier. Maybe the mechanism that, according to that schedule, maybe we need a mechanism. I mean, we heard just 2 months ago about the need for a long-term counselor. So we're going to continue to get requests. The question is parity, I heard earlier. How do we have a mechanism so we can address these requests? But in a context here, it's a little bit larger. It's A through G, also WASC, possibly Williams Act, right? Because it's access to facilities.
Williams is typically attributed over your core courses. So I would have to check to make sure it wasn't a Williams Act violation, but I do not believe that it would be.
So I guess I have a question because I'm a little bit confused. Kim, I thought what I understood you to say was the district doesn't have a contract vehicle to pay the mission.
So if the funds are being requested from us, the district, to augment the high school programs for a contract with the San Gabriel Mission, then we would hold the contract and we would submit payment directly from the district to the San Gabriel Mission.
But then what I also heard, because you said the high school has a contract and they can't if they're not going through the district office. So who, is that, am I understanding correctly that somebody signing those contracts, who is that?
I heard it was Mary Ann's office. Did I get that?
I was gonna say, I think doesn't activities start the ball on it? And then, I mean, you know more about that than
So the process that Mary Ann has ASB followed is pretty much, the ball kind of starts in our court with the, investigation and contacting the vendor. And then we pass that along, kind of like we did with the request for the homecoming fireworks. We get the information, we send it over to Mary Ann's office, and then she signs off on it from there. But on some of the expenses in the past, like for busing and things like that, that were not paid for using district funds, the bill would then be sent directly back to ASB, where the funds would be issued from the ASB. Does that make sense?
But strictly, if we're just talking about the playhouse itself, my understanding is you're saying you gather the information for that contract, you get it to the business office, Mary Ann, they approve or do whatever they're gonna do, the money gets sent to your ASB account and that's how it's paid?
No, the money...
She pays directly they pay directly from the district, or how does that work?
So, currently in the last year for the musical, the revenues that we've had from the shows come directly into the high school ASB bank account, which is separate from the district bank account.
Right.
And then when the bills come in, they are issued directly from the ASB bank account. We, for the most part, don't transfer funds back and forth between the ASB and TCUSD. It's a general rule.
Yeah, which is why we don't have a contract vehicle to...
The district doesn't, and the
But we
request...
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. And the request is coming from the foundation to us, the district office, to assist with the funding of the playhouse. So in order to do that, there's a mechanism to do that, should the board give us direction to do that. Currently, we, the district office, do not have contract with the San Gabriel Mission Playhouse for our funds, our general fund dollars to be spent on the funding of the facility externally. So there would be mechanisms that we would need to do in order to make that happen.
So for this year, it could happen, but what would need to be done? Could it happen this year, and what would need to be done for it to be considered?
So what we've presented here tonight is just, this is our general way of trying to create parity across the district in terms of channeling requests or proposals to us, and so that everyone can be heard, everyone's program or need can be stated in the district, and we try to funnel it in a process that would meet or at least meet the majority of those needs based on our priorities. So from this point forward, this is just a discussion information item, when we would need guidance from the board to move forward. So the next step would be for us to put it on an agenda for discussion action, and at that time, the board would either ask questions, find information that was, if there was a gap in any part of the presentation, then we would provide that information to the board, and it would go on discussion action at a board meeting of your choosing.
Now, quick question for Mike. How many ASB clubs are there? 79, I believe. 79.
Yeah, I think you know more than I do. But generally, it's about 60, 70, I think, different clubs usually every year, yeah.
And remember then the other thing to keep into consideration is that like both the dance concert and the musical include more than just the high school, includes like the elementary and the middle schools too. It's a district-wide thing.
So my question is really to parse out two things. One is the parity among the ASB different groups, so that there's no favoritism, there's parity, and we want to make sure it's done correctly. There's a mechanism. The other thing I want to parse out is what's required for A through G, and when we got the WASC accreditation, we want to make sure we continue to be accredited every 6 years. So if it's a facilities need, then we have to implement. This really can't have ASB pay for it. So really that's where I was trying to get at. But it will be a moot point. The parity will be a moot point if it's required, and students will have to get a grade, right, and which goes into their transcripts if this is required. Then we have to do something about it. That's my take on it.
So
Is it required?
ASB is extracurricular. That's my understanding.
So, and ESB give us a budget. We haven't got a budget on this at all. All we got is total costs. We don't have income, or we don't have a budget per se.
I'm sorry,
A standard budget.
for the musical, 158 this year, 158,000.
We don't have a written statement.
And I think the other thing is, and I appreciate very much the information about how the cycle of budgeting occurs and what needs to happen. I think it's we're late in the game, and now I don't want people to be penalized because they didn't know about how the process works. And this is something that we maybe should have considered, considering we've been doing this for the last 50 years. So I'm just saying I would like to see it on an agenda item for discussion about how we can consider this. And I appreciate the proposal from the Temple City Schools Foundation to partner with us on it. But I really do think that we can't just not discuss it anymore.
So a discussion item or an action item?
No, I think we need an action item because the musical will be coming soon.
It's a scheduled timely item.
Yes, and it has been for a very long time.
Donna, you had something?
Yes, I'm a little bit confused. So the Schools Foundation has not paid for the facility in the past?
I'm going to say any contributions that the Schools Foundation or any other donors have made to the musical itself, usually are contributions that are made to the ASB that then come in and then go back out.
That's one of our, and the foundation has been very generous in giving donations to the three performances. What the foundation's proposal is that, hey, these people don't have a venue, and the instructor shouldn't be responsible for having a fundraise to pay for a venue. So that's why the foundation was saying we partner with you on that.
I'm not opposed to having this come back for action, but what I'm honestly hearing is it's not real clean to put it together. We need to make sure we check all the boxes before we go ahead and enter into an agreement, correct? Yeah. So I think there's interest in having it come back, but I just want to make sure we nail down everything, because I'm still not clear on the way that the finance is being handled, to be honest. It sounds like it's being handled through ASB, separate from the district, which creates a problem.
Right, so we would have to rechannel the mechanism with which we could pay the San Gabriel mission.
Right, the mechanism also, I'm hearing tonight that their ticket sales are collected and ASB is processing that. The question is, if the district is funding this through general funds, would the ticket sales revenues go to ASB or to the district? Those are all mechanisms and the procedures that need to be ironed out as well. Also, what other ASB activities would have students receive a grade that go into their transcripts? The question of a parity. Or is this the only set of activities that result in some sort of a grade towards their electives?
Just a new note to that, remember Len? That's a new cog that again, I think makes it less clean, is the fact that the City of San Gabriel, I believe for the last year now, has changed the way they've done all this process, in that now they're collecting a good portion of, I guess, the ticket revenue that has come through Ticketmaster, and basically kind of deducting that off of our bill. So that just adds more complication to
I mean, I get a
all
total
of it.
bill, but I don't get the revenue from Ticketmaster, you know, in the past when we didn't do Ticketmaster,
All
ticket
of the
sales were all
revenue
done
went to
through
ASB.
ASB. So you're still gonna get a total bill, but it's muddied by the fact that you're also not gonna have to pay a bill that is $38,000 or whatever.
Another thing that just came to mind, I'm sorry, I won't prolong this anymore, but if the district were to give money, then it's offset by some portion of ticket sales? Is that what your expectation would be? I mean, or is it's given, the 25,000 is given and there's no income to offset that 25,000 once we get ticket sales?
I'm not sure I understand the question, I'm sorry, Melissa.
The word give is troubling. We can't give anybody money from the district.
No, I'm just, okay, so,
That's the problem.
Yes.
yeah, okay, no, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just, it's all right, I'll.
You mean allocate, right?
Allocate, yes, allocate. Sorry. Right, no, I hear you.
No, to who?
Okay,
Make sure that's
yeah,
all.
yeah, no, okay.
It's not just a.
Yes, you're right. I'm just trying to see, is it really an expense of 25,000 or is it going to be less because of ticket sales at the end when all is
I see
settled?
what you're saying. No,
No,
it
okay.
would
It
be
is
25 because the ticket sales would then be paying for sound and lighting and costumes and all of that stuff. What the foundation's proposal is strictly for the costs of the venue.
Got it. Okay.
Could you make a point of, we're not, the dance concert is one day, but you do rehearsals and that. So you don't use the civic auditorium just for one day?
No,
Or for the day of the show, like the Christmas show
No, you use it,
and the
they
play.
have rehearsals there too.
Yeah.
Rehearsals,
So.
Yeah, so when we're talking about these amounts, these are total costs,
Total.
including rehearsals, and all of that.
And so like the play itself,
It's
Yeah,
the
it's
week
almost a
before,
week.
yeah, it's the week before and that week of.
so did you remove the sets and et cetera?
Absolutely.
So I am in line with your thought about,
We need to
bringing it
see-
back, but
yeah.
making sure it's all.
We need to figure out a way to make it happen, though. It's not just to snap the fingers.
And I just have a question, and I'm taking off my foundation hat, okay, going back to the musical hat. And in the past, and this was not recent, but a while ago, what the district used to do is just make a solid donation, Marianne, it might have been before you, might have been David.
Before my time up, please continue.
Okay, donation
I
to
have
help.
heard the same thing, that's why I asked the
It-
question.
I just, not something I'm aware of.
They used to allocate an amount towards the musical or whatever. Have those rules changed? I mean, they do not allow that anymore? That's what I'm asking.
I think that-
We ran it through, the district paid, last year, the year before, they paid for the royalties in lieu of. Is that a thing? I don't know, I'm just asking. I don't need one.
I don't either.
So, from a bean counter
And
position where I am,
bean counter,
it's,
bean counter,
right,
no.
it's a more complex situation that is probably on everybody's radar.
Okay.
So what I would appreciate is the opportunity to ask you about 25 questions, and Mike, and then I think we can come back and bring some information. The fact that it's running through ASB, little hairs are standing up on the back of my neck. So I'm not being critical of anybody, but I think we have several opportunities of correcting the process. So I'd like to gather all that information and then bring that back.
And just to tag on, I just want to be very, we want to support the arts and I think that this program has bloomed into this beautiful, beautiful creation. And I truly appreciate everything that everyone does, which I don't even know what all of you do to make it happen.
I count
And all of the sleepless nights that make it happen, I think that we would want very much to support all of our programs, which is just why I wanted to give you the context so that we are as fair as possible, not that we're not, that doesn't discount anything that you had proposed. But just so that the board knows what our normal process is so that we can be as fair as possible. There are many people who have suggestions for great, great, great programs too. And we want to make sure everybody has their say and their voice is heard and that we get back to them and that we support them the best that we possibly can.
And my big point just in speaking tonight was not so much that we expect you to, be the fundraiser for it. We just think that we are not supplied venue at any of our sites. And we think that's part of the district's duty. You pay for football fields. Well, you this pay is for also baseball a fields. deficit that other schools, with these types of programs, they don't have.
Yeah.
Because, when we talk and try to collaborate with other schools and their musicals, they're generating tons of revenue off of them because they don't have some of
Which
these
funds their program.
big expenses.
Which
And
funds
you're
their
right, and it
program.
funds the other parts.
We are at a disadvantage because we either barely break even or sometimes go in the hole and then Matt gets in trouble. And that is a direct result of the fact that we don't have an auditorium.
And so I've heard a lot of that from our community and I've spoken to the board about, the concerns regarding the entire performing arts programs. It's not just one, it's many. And so we will continue to work, into trying to find a reasonable solution. My only caution is skipping of public funds. I do not want to be
And I understand.
on the receiving end of that, so I think that would be my. Well, it's you and me both.
Pretty bracelets.
You can say yes.
So that would be my only caution, and so we would need a mechanism with which to directly fund.
To use a theatrical euphemism, there may be a few trapdoors in that stage that we don't know about.
And I'm sure you're not.
Okay, so are we good with this?
Yes, thank you for that dialogue, I really appreciate it.
Okay, so,
What are we supposed to be doing now? Or is it on the agenda or for information?
Mary Ann's gonna talk to Christy and Mike and Kim will be involved and try to figure it all out, really get a good lay of the land, what's involved.
And then it'll come back to us?
Yeah,
Okay. As an action item or as a discussion item?
I would hope an action item.
Okay.
Okay, so moving back to our agenda, educational services, item 19, review the Williams complaints quarterly summary for July 1 through September 30th. We have that in our agenda and there are complaints, so I believe that's all we need to do. Okay, moving on to discussion action portion of our agenda. First item, business services. Item 20, calls for motion to accept the 2018-2019 actual student attendance report. And so I need a motion and a second, and go from there.
Motion.
Second.
Motion from member Espinoza and a second from member Lynn. Any comments or questions? I'll just note for the audience, our actual attendance report for last year was 97.35%, which is right in the average for the last 5 years. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries 5-0.
This is a, comment. This is an item that we probably should be looking at to get this up another 1 or 2%, because it makes a significant difference in the amount of money we get. 1% makes a lot, half or something.
And actually, as a district, historically, we've always been at the higher end. It's pretty hard to
I mean, we can still get higher. I mean, it could be 1 or 2 kids that are causing this problem.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 21, which calls for a motion to approve adjustments to the 2019-2020 district budget. May I have a motion and a second, please?
I would like to make the motion.
Second.
Okay, a motion from member Lynn, a second from member Nolenberg. Any comments or questions? What's that?
We're supposed to be pulled, number 20.
Number 20?
21, excuse me, 21.
Oh, I didn't.
21 was supposed to be pulled? Yes.
I haven't mentioned. Okay, so,
I'll take back the motion.
well, with this change, would you mind amending your motion to pull this item for future
I
consideration?
would like to amend my motion to, what was it? To
Pull
pull
the
this
item for future consideration.
for future consideration.
Ken, are you okay with that as a second? Okay, then I'll go ahead and call for the vote on that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 5-0, so we'll consider it future. Okay, moving on to item 22, which calls for a motion to adopt resolution 1920-07, change of district banking from Citibank to Foothill Federal Credit Union. May I have a motion and a second to approve, please?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from member Georgino, a second from member Nolenberg. Any comments or questions?
I had one question. The $200 a month for the 4 accounts, is that above and beyond what we've been paying, or is that?
It's very close to what we're paying.
Oh, okay.
If I can add just a little to let you know what happened here is Citibank actually invited us to leave. And they said, if you don't choose to leave by October 30, we're going to close your accounts and send you checks. My team and I made probably 15 or 16 calls to try and find out why we were being disinvited to be a customer. And it took me quite some time to get a person to answer me. Their issue is that we have too many deposits.
Oh.
Wow.
Too much cash.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, that's the same thing happened with the Camellia Festival.
Oh, who are you?
Not that bank, it was Bank of the West, but they don't want high
No.
volume customers.
Bank of the West pursued us, but I know their history from previous jobs. Foothill Credit Union is very excited to have us. They give great service to our staff. So I think it's the right fit for us. We will be working with them to have a desktop check deposit, so you scan the checks in rather than taking them, so we get our money and interest a little bit quicker. But yeah, it was quite an interesting letter to receive, and then to take over a month to get a response. I just wanted to share that with you, and that's our Citibank right here on Las Tunas.
Now I have a question about this. Too many deposits. So our ASB accounts are with Citibank?
So our ASB accounts are with Citibank right now. I'm gonna work with them and encourage them to move with us. I don't want them to run into that same kind of issue. But this is primarily, food service has deposits every day, and they're not happy with that, so.
Kiwanis gets charged for an excessive cash deposit. Depositing too much cash here, sorry.
That's stuff I never thought I'd hear in my life.
I wanted to share that with everyone. We weren't moving just to move, we kind of being kicked out.
Okay, because this is a resolution that requires a roll call vote, member Nolenberg,
Which resolution are we doing?
item 22,
The city
the one we just
bank
talked about.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, member Lynn,
Yes.
member Georgina,
Yes.
member Espinoza,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well, so that carries unanimously 5-0. Moving on to educational services, item 23A calls for a motion to approve the opening of public hearing to discuss the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials. May I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing, please?
Move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from member Georgina and a second from member Nolenberg. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries 5-0. We now are having a public hearing. Does any member of the public care to come up and comment? Not seeing any interest, I will go ahead and call for a motion to approve the said public hearing. May I have a motion and a second, please?
A motion.
So we have a motion from member Espinoza,
Second.
second from member Nolenberg. I'm assuming there's no comments or questions. We'll just go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries 5-0. With that, we'll move on to item 23C, which calls for a motion to adopt resolution 1920-08, certifying the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials. May I have a motion and a second to approve, please?
A motion.
We have a motion from member Espinoza and a second from member Georgino. Comments or questions? Probably not. Okay, it's a resolution, so I'll go ahead and make a roll call vote. Member Norberg?
Yes.
Member Lynn?
Yes.
Member Georgino?
Yes.
Member Espinoza?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so that carries 5-0. So with that, we are on to our consent agenda, and the consent agenda includes routine items approved by one motion and one vote unless a member of the board or audience requests that any item be reviewed and voted upon separately. So I'd like to request a motion to approve the consent agenda less item 29, which we already pulled and approved. Make the motion to approve, please.
Can I also, I'm sorry, can I also say, did we remove number 30?
No, we did not. You want a separate vote on that?
Yeah, and what did we, that's the classified?
No, it's the certificate is what we pulled already. That was for the principal position.
Yes,
C is already removed of the consent agenda, the personnel order. Okay, all right, I'm sorry. It's already removed. Okay, yeah. We'll go back to your
No, we're
motion.
good. Okay. Okay, so now I asked for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda without 29. I don't think I got one, did I?
I'll motion.
Okay, second. Member Espinoza has made the motion. Member Nolenberg made the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ken? Ken, are you aye? Okay, motion carries 5-0. And with that, we are on to board requests, comments, and/or future agenda items. We'll group that all together. Anybody have anything they want to add?
Just quick comment, I've been looking at the consent agenda items for the last 3 or 4 meetings. We've got a lot of board ratification items. So, the school board is accountable to the public. When things have to be ratified after the fact, it usually kind of preempts not just our authority, but just, it's not a good practice. I know there's some emergencies that we have to ratify, especially if people have put in the hours and they need to get paid. But I would really, like to see that the board exercise the authority to approve before the fact.
I don't know if that's always possible, but to the degree it is, I agree.
As much as possible.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? Then I will go ahead and call for a motion to adjourn. May I have a motion and a second, please?
I'll motion.
Motion from member Espinoza, second from member Nolenberg. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Oh.
What, Jerry, did you have something to say?
Would you like to say it now? We're not officially open, but
Sure.
Sorry.
Can I just do it from here?
You can.
Okay, since it's closed. Well, I just want to say our Kiwanis Club met the same fate, and I think Matt knows about this with Bank of the West wanting to close our account too because we deposited too many cash deposits. And since the meeting is closed and you're not recording this, I call them affectionately the bank of the worst.